बेटा 30 की हो गई, अब तो फैमिली प्लानिंग शुरू कर ले, अब नहीं करोगी तो कब करोगी? You've probably heard this multiple times because I did. Hi everyone, this is Akshita and welcome to my channel Mama Avocado Toast, a space where we talk about work, life, motherhood and everything in between. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something which a lot of us over 30 women have heard, and I'm sharing my personal experiences about how I conceived after 30. Please note, I'm not a medical professional and everything that I share may not be applicable for everyone, but I'm just sharing my own journey here. I hope it helps you. So let's dive right in. Now, before I share my story, I want to actually talk about a term which I'm sure we've all heard of: biological clock. What is it and does it actually exist? So, speaking strictly scientifically, when we women are born with all the eggs that we are going to be using during the course of this lifetime. And each time we get our period, we lose some of those eggs. So, when they say that a female's fertility declines with age, they're actually referring to the eggs, because as you grow older, you lose these eggs and they do not get replenished. So yes, chances of you conceiving naturally do go down as you age. If you speak to a gynecologist, they will tell you the best years of a woman to get pregnant are between 25 and 28 years. However, practically speaking, we all know that's far from what actually happens. At that age, most of us are still trying to find our feet professionally and perhaps find a partner. In my case, for instance, I didn't even meet my husband till I was 29. I didn't get married till I was 31, and by the time I got pregnant, I was 33. So while age is an important factor, it is not the only factor, because these days you also hear of women as early as in their 20s undergoing fertility treatments. So please don't be scared and please don't be discouraged and deterred thinking that, oh, maybe I've missed the bus and I'm too late for this. So for my husband and I, the process of planning a pregnancy actually started almost 6 to 8 months before we actually got pregnant. The first thing we did was to go visit a gynecologist. I know a lot of couples choose to skip this step and then go to a gynac only once they found out that they're pregnant, which is also fine. The reason we did this, and I recommend this, especially because we had some time and we weren't like looking to get pregnant tomorrow, and it's not that we had been trying and not having success. What we figured that if we're going to be planning a pregnancy in anywhere from the next 6 months to a year, it's best to get ourselves checked so that if there is any aspect of our health or our lifestyle that we need to be working upon, we can start now, as opposed to us going 6-8 months and then trying and then discovering a certain issue. So again, whichever approach works for you, it's fine. So we went to a gynecologist and our first visit was very routine. She asked us questions about how long we'd been married, about our lifestyle, what our diet is like, how often we exercise, do we drink, do we smoke, what supplements, medicines are we currently on right now. And then of course, because she was a gynecologist, she just asked us questions about our intimate life, how often we were engaging in intercourse, were we having any issues there. Some of these questions might seem intrusive, but they're not, because at the end of the day, they're gynecologists and they need to know things like this to be able to prescribe the next course of action. So we were prescribed a bunch of tests, which I will mention in the caption just in case I miss out on any. There were a few tests that were common to both of us. We had done a bunch of these tests earlier on. Maybe you might also have done them if they're prescribed to you. So one was a complete blood count, a vitamin D test, a thyroid test, a sugar test. Then there were certain tests prescribed for me: an LH and luteinizing hormone, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, AMH, which is quite literally the measure of the number of eggs you have in your ovary, and so on. I was also prescribed a pelvic ultrasound because the gynac wanted to see what my ovaries and fallopian tubes and uterus actually looks like. And for my husband, he was prescribed a semen test. And then we were told to come back within a week, 10 days with the test results. One thing I would like to mention here is that a lot of times I see women going to the gynecologist alone, or with mothers and mother-in-laws, or with other female members, or even friends. What I will tell you, ladies, is that when you're making a baby, it literally takes two to tango. So the best thing is to go with your partner. I'm sure we've heard stories where a female is trying to get pregnant and then they find out that the issue is not with her, but it's with the partner. partner. So there's no reason to be in denial, just go. And thankfully, we live in an age where most issues are fixable. So when we went back with the test, thankfully most of them were fine. We were advised to take certain multivitamins. I was advised iron because my hemoglobin was low, and I was also advised folic acid, which is a very standard supplement they give to women who are either trying to get pregnant or planning a pregnancy in the near future. And then we were advised certain lifestyle changes. So to cut down on our alcohol, my husband was advised to quit smoking. And then we were just told that, you just need to get a little fitter. And of course, to be conscious of our fertile window, and then to ensure that whenever we were in that fertile window zone, to have planned intercourse. If you're wondering what a fertile window is in absolute simple terms, it is that 5-7 days in your menstrual cycle when your chances of conceiving are at their highest. So typically it's usually 5 days before ovulation, the day of ovulation, and the day right after ovulation. So what's usually advised is that during that fertile window, you should have intercourse every alternate day. There are a few myths. Some say that you should have it multiple times a day. Some say that you should do it every day. And some even say that you should put your legs up in the air after you've done the deed, or put a pillow under your buttocks. Our gynac debunked all of this, and she said that as long as we were engaging in intercourse every alternate day, we were fine. One tip she gave me from her experience of having worked with so many couples was that when you're in this zone of actively planning a pregnancy, intimacy at times becomes a mechanical event. And she asked us to be very conscious of that, because at the end of the day, any kind of sexual activity between a couple should be out of love, should be out of a couple wanting to feel connected and enjoying it. So she urged us to not take the fun out of it, which is very easy when you're actually doing it against a calendar. So based on her advice, we cleaned up our diet. We took out a lot of processed food out of our diet. Of course, we did binge. So I think in general, we followed an 80-20 rule. 80% of the times we were eating healthy and 20% we were binging. We both started working out a little more seriously. I started doing walks and weight training because that's what I enjoy, and my husband did swimming. I think the other thing that we also did very consciously is pay attention to our mental health, because what we also realized is that again, when you actively start planning pregnancy, a lot of times this comes with anxiety, this comes with tension. For instance, if you're going cycle after cycle and you're not seeing a positive result, it's very easy to start losing hope, to get stressed out. So we both actively took up meditation, and I think it really helped us. I would specifically insist on this because a lot of times this is that part that gets missed very easily. The other thing we did was plan a little practically, particularly in terms of being financially prepared. As we had found out through our own research, and also after having spoken to a bunch of our friends, babies are a financial commitment and they can get expensive. So it's very important to be financially prepared, for one, in terms of having an emergency fund, in terms of being aware of how much it's going to cost you in the first year, second year, and so on. So of course, you don't have to have all that money with you right now, but having enough to at least cover things like doctor's visit, things like cover delivery, which are the immediate expenses, those are things you should be prepared for. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you'd like me to cover in my upcoming videos. Till then, mamas, keep glowing, keep growing.